online and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 5:30.
America has spoken, electing Donald Trump as the next president of the United States. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Trump's election to office comes as a big surprise to pollsters and Washington insiders alike. Our Washington Bureau's Alex Miller tells us what we can expect in the next coming months.
The last 24 hours has left much of Washington stunned. No one more than the people who live and work in the house behind me. But as ugly as the 2016 election cycle was, the message today on both sides of the aisle is moving forward. A message sent to Washington. Americans are fed up with gridlock and fed up with Washington insiders.
This is the most incredible political feat I have seen in my lifetime.
Donald Trump wins a number of blue states, and Republicans keep a firm grasp in both the Senate and House. And with that, all eyes are on the grand old party to live up to those campaign promises.
Absolutely, we're on the spot and we have to deliver. We have been given the mantle of leadership, and Republicans must lead. If we don't deliver, in 2 years, a lot of Republicans are not going to be in office any longer.
Across the street from the Capitol, big changes coming to the Supreme Court. The open seat likely easily to go to a conservative justice. And though the disappointment is palpable by both the Democratic nominee,
this is painful, and it will be for a long time,
and the White House.
It is no secret that the president-elect and I have some pretty significant differences.
As the last two-term presidents have done for their successors, President Obama is looking to make the most peaceful transition as possible for the American people.
I have instructed my team to follow the example that President Bush's team set 8 years ago and work as hard as we can to make sure that this is a successful transition for the president-elect.
And just as Republicans did in 2012, Democrats are going to have to do an autopsy of their own, not only to figure out what went wrong in the presidential race, but in those Senate races as well. But for now, many Democrats are going to need some time to grieve this unexpected loss. Reporting at the White House, I'm Alex Miller.
Meanwhile, Trump's victory took financial investors across the world by surprise. Overnight, the Dow tumbled over 800 points and the S&P 500 fell 5%. Tripping circuit breakers, which are put into place to halt trading periods of extreme swings. These downturns only lasted a matter of hours. As the opening bell on Wall Street sounded, markets began to rise. Now, the Dow closed at 18,590 points, which is the only inches away as its record closing price. And now financial experts believe this could just be the beginning of economic recovery under Trump.
The reality is a Trump presidency is one where he wants to double the economic output of this country. We've run along at a timid 2% growth per year. He wants to double that to 4%, get us back to more norms of this country. And that's just going to be positive for the stock market.
The dollar also traded higher today after the election news. Hillary Clinton is encouraging her supporters to stand and stay stronger together in both the fight for their beliefs and in support of our president-elect. Take a listen.
We have seen that our nation is more deeply divided than we thought. But I still believe in America, and I always will. And if you do, then we must accept this result and then look to the future. Donald Trump is going to be our president. We owe him an open mind and the chance to lead.
Well, we're still hanging on to some nice weather, and it's quiet outside. But let's take a peek at tonight's forecast. Robert, what's in store?
Today, another very warm day across the region. In fact, a couple of record-breaking highs up in Grand Forks and also over in Jamestown. Cooling down just a bit now that the sun has set across the area. I mentioned the record highs. Let's take a look at those high temperatures across the region. That record high in Grand Forks, 68, shattered the old record of 61 set back in 2010. Jamestown's record of 69, the old record 65 set way back in the year of Hutch's birth, 1937. 54 in Detroit Lakes and Fergus Falls, 58 right now in Fargo, 62 in Grand Forks, Devils Lake, and in Jamestown. Winds, they've been a bit breezy today. Tomorrow, even windier still, but they'll be out of the other direction. A touch cooler as we head through the day on your Thursday. Hardly a cloud in the sky, and we'll stay mostly clear overnight tonight with no clouds, no precipitation. Here in Fargo, we'll dip down to around 53 at the 7 o'clock hour and continue to slowly drop as we head through the 8 and 9 o'clock hour, with perhaps just a cloud or two. We've got some warm weather and some cooler weather to talk about, both on the 7-day forecast, and we'll detail that here in just a few minutes.
You think Hutch took offense to that, Hutch?
No.
Birthday boy? It's Hutch's birthday today. We got to wish him happy
buddy.
birthday. 1937.
Give or take a year.
Give or take.
Yeah.
All right. Well, less than 24 hours since Doug Burgum is declared North Dakota's new governor, he already has plans in the works. Burgum laid out those plans today, and Valley News Team's Ashley Bishop was there. She joins us with more. Ashley.
The newly elected governor and lieutenant governor took the stage speaking about their transition plans and building a team to complete their campaign goals, like balancing the state budget without raising taxes. Jody Euchre will join Burgum's Sanford team to help, quote, reinvent state government. Euchre worked with Burgum for about 20 years at his software company, Great Plains. She announced they are looking from within the political system and outside of it for people to join his administration. A website was launched today encouraging anyone in or out of state to apply. Burgum says he still plans to give his salary back to the taxpayers.
It's this crazy thing about government. You'd think that would be an easy thing to do, to say, hey, I don't want to take my salary, but and some people have even been so far as say, oh, you can't do it. We'll figure out a way to get it done. And even if it means I got to take the salary and then donate it, we'll do that.
We also asked Burgum about some of the big issues facing North Dakota, like the Dakota Access Pipeline protest. Hear those answers and more on Valley News Live at 6. Christine?
All right. Thanks so much, Ashley. We also learned today that Burgum's election had the most votes for office in the state's history. Also, the first Somali American legislature in the U.S. has now been elected to office, and she will soon be serving in Minnesota. Ilhan Omar won the DFL party, securing almost 80% of the vote. She will represent District 60B, and that district lies in Hennepin County. Omar will start serving in January, and that's when the Minnesota legislative session kicks off. Tonight, we have the disturbing story of an alleged child sex crime in northwestern Minnesota. 37-year-old Jeremy Jurdy of McIntosh has been charged with criminal sexual conduct in the first degree. As Valley News Team's Neil Carlson tells us how it's an alarming case that may have been happening for years.
Authorities were made aware of this case after a friend of the victim finally reported it last Saturday. The victim, a teenage boy, told authorities that Jeremy Jurdy had anal and oral sex with him many times. That sometimes Jurdy would get him drunk, so he wouldn't remember what happened. But here's the most disturbing aspect of this case. According to court documents, this happened just about every weekend since the boy was 7 or 8 years old. It all means this may have been happening for the last 5, 6, even 7 years. In part, the victim told authorities, quote, he didn't know it was sex. He didn't learn it was wrong until he had a puberty class when he was 12 years old. The victim also said he didn't know why he didn't say anything. He thought it would hurt his mom. In the meantime, Jeremy Jurdy remains in jail awaiting his next court appearance on a cash bond of $7,500. In Crookston, Neil Carlson, Valley News Live.
The prosecutor has already given notice to pursue a statute that allows a tougher sentence than the sentencing guidelines allow in this case. The felony charge against Jurdy carries a maximum sentence of 30 years in prison. We have the latest developments for you now surrounding a murder in Wadena, Minnesota. On Monday afternoon, the victim, 27-year-old Margaret St. Marie, was shot to death in the couple's Wadena apartment. She leaves behind 3 young children. Her husband and the suspect in the case, Antonio St. Marie, remains hospitalized in serious condition. He was injured after fleeing the scene and crashing during a police chase. Prosecutors say formal charges are still pending because several agencies took part in the case. They say they do need some time to sort through the reports before filing charges. Some new information for you now out of Bemidji, Minnesota. Longtime Bemidji State University football coach Jeff Teesh has been fired. The head coach had been on paid administrative leave since August after allegedly uttering a racial slur during a preseason practice. The Minneapolis Star-Tribune reports that Teesh was fired on Monday. Teesh released a statement through the union representing him, thanking his players, assistants, and the community for its support during his 2 decades as head coach. The Bemidji State University Faculty Association says it plans to file a grievance over Teesh's firing. 26-year-old Chantel Wagner of Crookston was injured in a one-vehicle accident near Crookston this morning. It happened on Highway 9, just 6 miles south of town. Police say she drove off a curve in the road and her car went into the air after hitting a dip in the embankment. State Patrol doesn't know if the driver fell asleep behind the wheel or if there was some sort of medical problem. There's a change.org petition making its rounds on the internet. It's asking Fargo police to stop getting involved in the Dakota Access Pipeline protest. Here's a picture of the post. It was started by a senior at Concordia College. The petition calls on Fargo Chief of Police David Todd to immediately publicly withdraw all Fargo Police Department forces and resources from Morton County permanently. The petition goes on to say many residents in the FM area are alarmed of the Department of Fargo officers to Morton County, calling the law enforcement response hyper-militarized and violent repression of peaceful demonstrations. Moorhead Police, the department responsible for covering the Concordia College campus, has not sent any resources to the pipeline protest. To read more on this story, head over to valleynewslive.com and click on this story. And of course, remember to like Valley News Live on Facebook so you can follow the latest news, weather, and breaking news updates anytime on your feed. Just search Valley News Live, like our page, and you'll stay informed throughout the entire day. By now, nearly all of us have gotten used to using chip readers instead of swiping our credit cards. But now there's one generation that doesn't really like them. That's still ahead tonight.
Quiet weather continues not only in our area, but across the northern plains. Do we see any changes to that? We'll let you know coming up right after this.